Just wanted to pop in right before the video starts to say that Death Battle just corrected something that they had the most wrong thing ever. I swear to God, power scaling, planet busting, no matter what you look at, I think the worst and most atrocious thing they ever did is, for like 3 days in the thumbnail, they had the scar on the wrong side of Bardock's face. How fucking could they? Alright, anyways, enough joking around. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so, I might have to do some fucking with this in post, but I'm gonna, instead of talking over the video while it's playing, I'm just gonna pause it whenever I want to make points. But this is an hour and 9 minutes long, so let's strap in. React content is such good content, dude. I love stealing other people's hard work and then just talking over it and say, hey, that's fair use. Even though it totally is, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Alright. I do want to quickly say, though, before we get started, thank you for all the support here. Fucking 2,700 views. That passed my most viewed video, and I think I got like 15 subscribers in one day. So that feels fucking awesome. And then I was replying and liking some comments here. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I put a good amount of work into this video, so I'm glad that it's receiving at least any amount of attention. I really appreciate it. I'm also going to apologize for like the background sound. I don't have soundproofing in my room, so there's going to be like a very, very faint hum. I'm not sure how loud it is in post. I'm going to try to do what I can, but I can't promise anything. You're probably also going to hear me moving around and clicking my mouse. That's because my mic is directly over top of my hand. And lastly, in the background, you might hear like my cats playing with each other and just fucking around because they're little crackheads. Alright, but here we go. Let's full screen this. Yeah, I'm just going to shrink it later, so let's full screen it.
Oh, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Death Battle cast. Yo, we're back, guys.
Skeletover!
Yes!
Yes!
Skeleton.
Everyone's favorite mod.
I mean, I was going to introduce it just in case people didn't know what the hell we were talking about, but it is Skeletovers!
Yeah!
If you think I wasn't gonna jump on that immediately, come on, man.
Yeah, which means it's October. We're gonna be doing spooky matchups. It's because you know, we got it at this point. This is tradition in the Death Battle family.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I do want to weigh in on this real quick. It's Junko from Danganronpa versus Springtrap. I have no idea. I hope it's an interesting one. Yeah. Alright, let's get to it.
And I love that we're still using that like shitty Skeletober celebration.
What do you mean shitty? It's
Crap.
incredible, alright?
It's perfectly fine.
I
Perfect
made it like
font.
5 minutes 3 years ago at this
Hey,
point.
I was
We're
saying-
still using the same one.
And Ben, in our defense, that was made when we were owned by a major multimedia corporation, alright? So...
If you don't mess
yeah,
with the Colonel's
look at what-
recipe, it's already perfect.
yeah.
Look at what a big budget can get you. Hey everybody, thank you for joining our weekly Death Battle cast. So, couple things to get to today. We have a very unique and exciting matchup to talk about, one that we've seen requested quite a bit in the past and are definitely excited to explore it with some new and semi-new faces on the cast today. I'll introduce them in just a minute. Also, I'm sure you might have noticed, I mean, it was a little thing that happened earlier this week. Some people may not be aware. A new Death Battle dropped, so, you know.
And a majority of the internet fucking hated it. I thought it was a great episode, even though I disagreed with the outcome and the research. I still thought it was a good episode. So I'm wondering how Mr. Benny Boy is going to approach this. I also realized this is in 720. It only goes to 720. Oh no! Okay, well, let's find out.
That's pretty cool. First independent death.
Alright, so I do want to say, I don't want to just steal all of their content, so I'm going to pause for 1 second and go find the time where the actual thing that I'm here for starts. So 1 second. Alright, I am certainly glad that I didn't just watch through the whole video. I went to the comments, and apparently, at 56 minutes in, they talk about it. So, I'm going to skip back like a minute to give context, and then we're going to watch from there. So, here we go.
as we wrap up the poll here, we do have.
Feel the sting of Death Battle Cast, Max. Welcome.
Sorry, Max.
Welcome.
62% is voting along with John.
And the win
Trap.
streak
Oh.
continues.
The despair.
Even bringing it along
Kidding.
an animated intro. Like, that serves Billy so well whenever he shows up and
Right?
does some crazy intro like
It's
that.
true.
Dude, shit. I don't need this.
Nice.
You can take the crown. You can take it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Megasonic Bros as Max and John did pretty well with covering these two. Good job. Yeah, you guys had a lot to cover.
Oh,
And oh my god,
yeah.
dissembling all of the proper nouns and shit. I'm like, wait, whoa. What is that? What do you mean?
I didn't know about FNAF until today.
Congratulations.
I love it.
I've been with it for 10 years. It is part of my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the FNAF fandom and lore and craziness. I mean, it'd be fun to jump into. We've been meaning to jump into it for a long time, right? So
I do not envy them if they have to do an actual death battle involving someone from Five Nights at Freddy's. Holy fuck. Oh my god. At that point, if they're going to do that, they might as well just let Matt Pat do the whole thing. I mean, just give him a fucking shout out or something. Just let him do it. Just let him do the whole fucking research part for them. I mean, he's already dedicated his fucking life to it at this point, so fuck it. Let him do it. I don't envy them if they have to do fucking anything involving Five Nights at Freddy's in an actual episode. Alright, so moving on.
it'd be fun
Yeah.
to jump into it for an episode.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Thank you, Max and John. You guys did incredible representing these characters. So let's talk a little bit about Omni-man Bardock. So I know some of you.
Real quick, predictions also that I made yesterday, and I'm gonna make again. I feel like they're going to dodge around the question or like come up with some very like niche, stupid, one minor thing that was said that would be like, "Hey, this proves it." But let's get to it. My guess right now is they're gonna be like, "Well, we have nothing to scale the planets off of for King Vegeta." So, we don't know how big the planets are that they're destroying. And I'm going to also guess that what they said in that card that I put in one of the scenes, I forget where it is in the video. Hi, kitty cat. Where it is in the video is it was like, oh, well, it's not exactly sure who's giving what in terms of power to destroy planet Viltrum, so we can't rightly say, how much of a share Omni-Man's doing. But in literally every other Death Battle episode I think that ever existed, even like, I think it was like, I think it's the one with Shazam. He fucking they compared a feat that took like the whole Justice League to like lift something or something like that, but they only gave him a fifth of the work, despite the fact that Superman was there, and Superman is much stronger. I forget what episode. I want to say it's Shazam versus somebody, but they still gave him a fifth, even though Superman is significantly stronger than him. But they still gave it an even split. So if they're gonna say we can't give it an even split because we're not sure, what the strength difference is between everybody, that's a load of bullshit. They've done it before and they can do it again. They purposefully twisted it if that's what they want to say. Moving on.
You guys have some questions about like how we approach certain feats, like in particular with Omni-Man, the whole how we determined how strong he is and how durable he is, and the incorporation of the solar disk and the planet's destruction. So I do want to just note that I've seen a lot of questions about like how we interpreted Thetis' statement that like they have a list of weapons that can hurt Viltrumites or whatever, thinking that it's kind of a vague statement. And I do want to emphasize that, like, as we say in the episode, it's not just a single statement. It is a multi-arc storyline in Invincible. It's actually started in the animated series, if you've kept up with that. It goes on for like 30 issues of the comic. Building up to their ability to actually hurt Viltrumites. It's pretty significant that they do not have weapons that can hurt Viltrumites. And yeah, it is a spaceship with a cannon that obviously doesn't function in a one-on-one fight that the same way that like Bardock would. But also,
I'm going to stop him before he but also's. Facts. It does not line up in a one-on-one fight, so how would you know?
that's not what they're doing. That's not how a war works. So if they had a gun, even if it was a big ass gun on a ship that could hurt Viltrumites, they know where the Viltrumites are. They know where they are. They can just go shoot them from space. So there's a lot of. It doesn't really make any sense if that ship could actually hurt them.
You're right. And in any Dragon Ball fight, they could just explode the planet to win, but they don't.
Viltrumites, literally make such a big deal out of them not being able to hurt Viltrumites. So that's the thought process there.
And real quick, when I say they could explode the planet, I mean like any of the bad guys could just blow up the planet to win. Like, yes, Frieza wanted his revenge, but he could have just blew up the planet to win. Cell was just doing it from an ego thing, but his plan was to just blow up the fucking planet. And Majin Buu is just straight up evil. Like, or not Majin Buu, Super Buu and Kid Buu are just straight up evil. If they just wanted to actually secure a win, they would just blow up the planet. And I think Majin Buu actually, no, he didn't, or not Majin Buu, I think Super Buu, he didn't blow up the planet, but he just killed every single person that was alive on the planet. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, oh, they could have just pointed the gun at Viltrumites. Yes, and the Dragon Ball villains could just blow up planets to win. That's not really a fair statement.
And with all of these, I totally understand if people don't necessarily agree with that with that kind of interpretation, but that's how we saw it. And of course, there's the planet feat itself, busting the planet, spoilers, Viltrum, where they said Omni-Man could have died. Why didn't we say any of this? So this is definitely one that I think we could have done a little bit better on. The reason why we don't say it outright is because we show it, and it's not really a part of the argument that we're making. I know a lot of people like really focused on this part of the episode because we do spend a decent amount of time talking about the planet, and maybe we just shouldn't have done that. But the planet's destruction is not part of the argument. It really was mainly there, at least the thought process there was to kind of showcase how Viltrumites do match up to Saiyans in a general level. That was basically it. But what's actually happening in the explosion is also fascinating. So to detail it, the feat is Omni-Man, Mark, and Thetis, and Space Racer are all involved in destroying this planet. Space Racer fires the Infinity Ray through the planet, and then the Viltrumites follow the Infinity Ray through it, and Thetis says, we have to be quick, because they could die if they hit the core before it restabilizes, because the Infinity Ray is destabilizing the core. That's what the feat is. Taking the statement that Thetis makes that they could die if they hit the core wrong, I don't really feel comfortable hinging an argument on Omni-Man losing based on just that statement, because unlike the statement about the weapons, this is just a singular statement. And it's also an anti-feat. So, I don't know. Just doesn't seem like something that's worth hanging an entire argument around. It's also not...
But that's the problem. That's the problem. You can't say that's an anti-feat because that's like saying weaknesses are an anti-feat. You brought up the fact that in both episodes involving Omni-Man that a Viltrumite can have their equilibrium disrupted by high-frequency sounds. That's like a weakness they have. Is that not an anti-feat? Like, is a weakness and an anti-feat not basically the same thing? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not in the power scaling community, but like, to me, as someone from outside looking in, that's the same thing. Like, saying that, oh, this could kill them if they didn't do it right, and this would basically throw you off in the middle of a fight because, you know, it's something that would affect you negatively. How is that not the same thing? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just how I look at it. Like, saying that Omni-Man, like, his equilibrium can get shattered by high frequency sounds, and that would, like, make them unable to fly and stuff like that. That is, like, the same as saying, you know, oh, you know, if he drags Bardock to space, Bardock can't breathe in outer space, even though he's strong enough to survive a vacuum. It's like, yeah, that's not really a weakness either. That's just an anti-feat. But is a weakness and an anti-feat not the same thing? I don't know. Maybe I'm just fucking reaching, but let's keep going.
An unknown factor. They don't really know what's going to happen when they hit the core. They've never done this before, especially since the way they destroy the planet is really bizarre, because I think the biggest question about all of this, the Infinity Ray hits the planet, hits the core, and all it does is destabilize the core.
And this thing can blow up.
But the Infinity Ray is introduced as a sunbuster.
Yeah.
it literally passes through, like the way it's introduced in both the cartoon and the comic, the Infinity Ray destroys stars. In fact, in the comic specifically, it mentions that the way it works is it passes through anything and keeps going. There are rays out there still going, destroying multiple planets and stars in its path. So what the fuck is Viltrum? How the hell does it just get destabilized? So this is a big question that the comic doesn't really have a good answer for, and I actually think it might be really interesting to explore Viltrum as like what this is as maybe a separate video. I don't know. Maybe it'd be worth it. Maybe it wouldn't. So there's definitely a big question there, and that's why we weren't really comfortable putting exact numbers on like dividing powers and things like that between it, or levels between it and whatnot. It's there's a big question regarding the planet. So that's at least the thought process there and how we approached it. Again, I understand if
So because you're not able to fully have a clear answer of how the power is divided up between who's doing what equally or not, you decide to just give him the whole fucking feat. Am I making sense here? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because you're not sure how it's equally divided up, or how much, like, who's giving what, you just decide, fuck it, give it all to Omni-Man, it's all him. That makes no fucking sense.
you don't agree with that, that's where we're at. So I don't know. It's a very bizarre sort of thing to try to put numbers to. But hey, this is also not an exact science versus debate, things like that, right? Like we all know. Like who knows what some of these numbers are? We're looking at drawings in a comic book, and
Or you could just say that you don't like Saiyans. That's what it feels like. That's just what it feels like. I don't think. Let me think here for a second. I don't think a single Death Battle episode, aside from Vegeta versus Shadow, had a Saiyan winning. I think they just fucking hate Saiyans. I'm not gonna lie, I think that's what it is. Like the Goku versus Superman ones, yeah, that makes sense. Superman is just not fucking trying to get into the super nitty gritty of it. Superman is basically infinity. His number will be as high as it needs to in order for him to win, because that's who Superman is, and that's how the comics have written him. So that's okay. But like, I even saw a thing that apparently the creator of Silver the Hedgehog, I don't know if it's the same guy who made Sonic, but apparently he even disagreed with the outcome of Trunks versus Silver. He thought Trunks would win. Like, he's like, no. Silver's not that strong. Trunks wins. I don't know, man. But, like, it just feels like I could be wrong. I could be reading too far into this, but it just feels like they just really fucking don't like Dragon Ball. Or it specifically don't like Saiyans. Because I think, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think every Dragon Ball character other than Saiyans, with the exception of Vegeta versus Shadow, that was featured on Death Battle, have won their fight. Beerus won, Frieza won, Android 18 won. I don't think... Majin Buu lost. Okay, yeah, Majin Buu lost. Okay, that's one. I don't know, man. There's just... You could say it's weird and all that, but like here's the other thing: are they gonna bring up the 3 planets that Vegeta just went whoop, and they all just wiped out, just whoop, with a wave of his hand? They're all gone. Like, I can kind of somewhat understand the whole, oh, the Infinity Ray keeps going, so what the fuck is Viltrum? Guys have never heard of a plot hole before. No, being more realistic, that's a fair argument, you know. I assume it's just implied that the blazer keeps going and the core would just slowly reform itself, but who knows? That's one of those things that's up in the air, and I can agree with them on that it's like, you know, there's no actual clear-cut answer. But I don't think if there's no clear-cut answer, I don't think the answer is to give full scaling to Omni-Man. As I said earlier, whenever they weren't sure or like had characters that were drastically stronger than others competing in a feat together, you know, I'm just saying, they gave a fair split. They didn't give more to the person who's clearly stronger. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know, man. That feels like a cop out. But let's keep going. Let's see what they have to say.
and cartoons, right? Which is also kind of similar to how I've seen some people say, like, well, I saw somebody else calc the solar disk feet and it was lower. Yeah. I mean, sure, any calc for the solar disk feet is probably going to be different because it's based on a lot of estimations. And when there's leeway in calcs, we do tend to lean towards giving the benefit of the doubt to avoid underplaying a character. That's also what we did with Bardock and scaling him to Goku being able to dodge those meteors, even though realistically, Goku should probably be at a much more powerful state, like level at that point. But generally, they were in the same ballpark, so it seemed fine to kind of just connect them in that sort of loose way.
So you give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's why King Vegeta waving his hand, blowing up 3 fucking planets with almost no effort versus Omni-Man, Mark, and Thetis all having to give this everything they've got pretty much and do everything perfectly, otherwise they would die, or at least there's the risk of them dying. And you say that's the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt is fucking Bardock is weaker than that? What?
And also that, ties into the question of like, since Bardock is so much faster than Omni-Man, shouldn't he speed blitz him and end the fight right there? Sure.
That is also another one. You are right. And I wonder if he's going to bring up the bar graphics, because the bars, like, it made it look like Bardock wouldn't pass him until he went Super Saiyan, when realistically, that Bardock's base form would take up most of the screen, and Omni-Man would be like a tiny sliver, like that fucking animation, I think it's DuckTales or something, where they slice the bread so thin you could see through it. Like, it would be like that.
Yeah, the fight could absolutely end that way. When, if you decide that speed is the deciding factor, Bardock wins. But, we do mention this in the episode. We show that in our conclusion, in our list of win cons. But we don't base a victor off of just one, stat comparison. We try to be a little more broad than that. And then the last thing
And that is fair. I will say that. That is very fair. There are more things than just speed. It does get to a point where when you're versus debating, you just basically have to say, character A is faster, they have the speed advantage. Next question. It's like, oh, character B is stronger, they have the strength advantage. Next question. That, I understand, because that is a little part of versus debating that it gets very hairy, because, it's like, well, then speed wins everything. And that is partially true, but, like, that's the thing. If somebody has the speed advantage or the strength advantage, that's fine. But you also have to take into the factor of how much is that gap. If you're like 2 or 3 times faster than someone, that's fine. That's still comparable. But if someone's in billions of light speed and the other person's in the trillions of light speed, then that speed gap starts to matter a little more than just person A has higher stat.
I just wanted to touch on is why did Bardock get Super Saiyan 1 but not Super Saiyan 2, 3, and 4?
That's a stupid fucking question. They outright said they don't include the Xeno stuff. They were doing a pretty decent, comparison to Goku and Vegeta's journey to becoming Super Saiyan, and did the same thing for Bardock, so that's fair. Super Saiyan 2, 3, and 4, or whatever, or 2 and 3 and God, or whatever the fuck he gets in Xenoverse, that makes complete sense. They're not doing Bardock Xeno, they're doing Bardock Z, which makes sense. Because otherwise they would specify, like, why the hell did they do Xeno Trunks versus Silver? You know what I mean? Like, that, I'm on their side about this one, or whatever they're about to say, probably.
There's a couple reasons. One, I mean, Super Saiyan 1's freaking awesome, right? Like, we think it's awesome. But we're obviously not covering Heroes Bardock or Dragon Ball Online Bardock. I feel like the episode covered that pretty well. We just really wanted to, explore that option for it. And also, like, because that was one of my big questions going into it when we had our big, when we started working on this episode, literally in 2023. I was wondering if it would make sense to incorporate the Super Saiyan form, because I thought it would be rad. And the more I looked into how we could explore Bardock's story and who he is as a person, the more it made a lot of sense to talk about the Super Saiyan form, because I realized the way they sort of have reevaluated the Bardock character in the Super manga sort of sets him up down the same path Goku is going down.
And this is facts, and I don't know if they're going to bring it up, and I apologize for cutting them off so much, but I don't know if they're going to bring this up. But Super Saiyan in, I think, all forms of Dragon Ball is not specified that you have to reach a certain power level. You just have to achieve a certain feat, basically. Is that, like, you have to meet the criteria of being a Super Saiyan, and until Dragon Ball Super ruined it, just so you have to vibrate your back. But I think that's just a Universe 6 Saiyan type of thing. But it's less about a power level and more about you have to just match like a certain set of criterias, like how when Vegeta went Super Saiyan and revealed it to everybody, Gohan was like, wait a minute, I thought you had to have a pure heart to become a Super Saiyan. And Vegeta was like, yes, I do. My heart is pure evil. And it's like, well, I mean, that's fair. So, I don't know, let's see.
And I don't know, it's just fascinating to me that like that's sort of the implication is that he could have become what Goku is essentially, but he had that ripped away from him. It's a tragic sort of like example of a or a tragic sort of story for a Saiyan like him, trying to move away from the kind of person he was. And it's very similar to Omni-Man's story. It just felt really, I don't know, really fascinating to me, and I definitely wanted to explore it, and it just made a lot of sense to incorporate it. So if you want to approach it in a very clinical way, where it's like, well, he shouldn't have Super Saiyan because he didn't have it in canon or whatever. It's also a question: what canon do you use? Right? We basically looked at Toei canon and manga canon or super canon, but then maybe the episode's not for you, and that's fine.
If you looked at Super Canon, you would also realize that Bardock seeing Gas's family when he was in his Ozaru form, he recognized his own family in seeing their strife, and he would not want them. He would not want his own family to have to go through what they're going through right now. So he shifted back to his normal form and helped defend them. So he wouldn't be mindless in his Ozaru form. He would actually be normal.
Everybody's going to look at it differently, and this is how we looked at it. So I hope that kind of helps clear up some of the questions of like how we're looking at things. I do think well, I think it's important for us to see feedback and stuff regarding how we address characters and episodes and matchups, and we absolutely do look at those. So know that. I mean, obviously, we're not a big fan of like reading really negative comments, obviously, but like nobody is. But like we want to make sure that we're always improving and doing better. So thank you to people who are who
Criticism is fine. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, sure.
Facts. Thank you. Chad fucking pretty much summed it up right there. You see, everybody's pretty much ready for it. Chad summed it up right there. Criticism is fine. Don't be a dick about it. That is 100% agreed. Now, I could say that I've been coming off as a little bit of an asshole, and that's fine. But that's more coming from the fact that, like, if you get something kind of wrong, you need to own up to it. And I certainly don't think that posting just the last 15 minutes of a Death Battle cast is the best way to do it, but it's still a way to do it, and I hope they at least own up to it. And they did at the end there where they were like, hey, we're always trying to improve, and we appreciate the feedback and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I was looking for and what I was talking about earlier is because, these characters mean something to people, and you can't do them injustice. You have to do them right. These characters mean something to people, like they are very important to people in many, many, many different ways. And it's for some people it's a lot deeper than that. Like there are people that I know or like have heard of where like games or movies or just like a character in a show or something like that, like they might have been going through a dark time and that character also went through something very similar and they kind of see themselves in that character and relate to them a lot, or they see themselves in the character's story and relate to it a lot, and it resonates with them a lot more So when you take a character that really matters to somebody and just do them injustice, it doesn't make them feel right. It makes them angry not because they won or lost, but because it felt like the character was betrayed or downplayed for X, Y, or Z reason. But I am still going to say that I still think that they didn't really do this a good justice for Bardock and Omni-Man. Um, and once again, I can see the place where they're coming from, where it's like, this is how other people looked at it. Yes, this is how we looked at it. There you go. Um, it explains why they did what they did, but it doesn't really justify it, if that makes sense. Like saying, my biggest one is that they said in the little card in the middle of the episode, and right there they're like, oh well, we don't know, who's at what equal contribution is and who's doing more lifting and all that, but like they still have not given a clear answer of if they if they just divvied it up somehow and gave it to Omni Man. I'm pretty sure, based on the episode and what they just said here, is that like they weren't sure, so they just gave him full scaling anyway. That's not how you do that. You take with what you know. It doesn't matter if you don't know who's equal or whatever, then you just play it safe. The safest way is to either not count the feat or to just, there are 4 people involved, split it 4 ways. Problem solved.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. But thank you
That's how I put it.
for people who are willing to give that sort of criticism and
Yep.
be appropriate with it, hopefully, but also um, willing to what am I trying to say? Basically, give us feedback to help us improve.
Yeah.
Because it does matter, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily want to make something that everybody is just blindly clapping for, but also you know it's nice to have some people clap for it.
Yeah. Be
No,
constructive about it.
yeah, it's good to be back. It's interesting to see nothing's changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're still gonna be making some awesome death battles. I think, regardless, you guys are gonna have some fun things to say about Joker Giorno. But I do think going into it, try to see how we're looking at the characters as well as how you look at them. Don't
Again.
I think it's interesting exploring how people have different views on characters. That's kind of the whole point of what Death Battle Cast has turned into.
Um, yes, you do need to see how certain people are looking at a character from whatever angle or experience that they are. But on the same vein, it's not just how you look at a character, it also matters if you're doing the character justice. Now, yes, any character that's like, oh, I don't kill people or anything like that. I know, like the number one rule is any moral obligations to kill somebody is removed from the character for the sake of the fight. So, but other than that, it's like it doesn't matter what perspective you're looking at the character from. It matters if you do them justice and if you're honest with how they would behave or you're doing it fairly. If you represent a character in a way that they should not be represented or very, very harshly inaccurate to how they would be represented or how they would behave, that's what people get pissed off about. If you don't recognize feats in the right way or don't recognize character moments in the right way, that's what makes people angry. It's not the outcome of a fight or anything like that. It's if you did it justice or not. But with this fight, obviously, it's a little different. A lot of people are in major agreement that Omni-Man fucking loses, but that's besides the point. I love Omni-Man and I love Bardock, as I said in my video. They're both fucking amazing characters. I love both of them. I love Dragon Ball. I love Invincible. So I don't really care in terms of like, oh, I wanted Bardock to win or oh, I wanted Omni-Man to win. Regardless of who won, I love both characters, but it's the fact that it was done wrong, and that's where the problem comes in. There's a lot of death battles where I don't want either person to lose or win, but there obviously has to be a winner or a loser. But it's just one of those things. You regardless of how you're looking at a character, you also have to look at the lens of who the character is.
Is talking about like different interpretations and explorations and into understanding characters. And yes, I've seen a couple of people in the chat mention about the cutaways. So we currently do not have animated cutaways in the current episode. Max has actually been editing this upcoming episode, and you
Yeah.
guys might.
Yeah.
I think you guys will like what he's been doing with a little whiz and boomstick, because we do still have that art. We did
Oh,
get
yeah.
whiz and boomstick along with Death Battle from Warner Brothers Discovery. So
Yep.
you haven't seen them for the last time. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Dark Mentally says they're building up to Gru versus Megamind. Gru is going to end the Saiyans.
Oh no!
They'll destroy the moon.
Yeah, we've said this so much in the past. I'm just going to say it again. I mentioned it in the commentary, which we do have a commentary coming up for your members soon. But like so many comments are just like, of course they make this person win. They made this person win. It's like, why? Why would we do that? Why would we care to do that? The whole purpose of the show is to try and figure it out and explore these characters. Like, if we were to like game the system, like we would have made Bardock win. Like,
Yeah.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, the episode honestly would probably be doing better if Bardock had won. We knew that going forward.
Yeah.
But regardless, like we're never gonna like sell a winner, right? We're never gonna rig it for like, because this would be better for the algorithm or whatever. Death Battle's never done that, and it's clearly worked just fine in the past. So we're not gonna do that, you know.
I will say, I don't think they ever did that intentionally. Because the main one that I think of when I think of a quote rigged death battle would be Goku versus Superman 2. When Goku lost, I think the first thing they were like is like, yo, pitchfork and torches down. Please, let us explain. And that's fair. I don't think they've ever done that intentionally. That's what I'm going to say.
As it stands. But anyway, yeah.
Can I bring up something?
Sure.
Hey, Max.
Huh?
Outerversal body. Anyway, Austin, joke one. Quickly.
What the
Wait,
hell?
what? Joke one. Scott Cawthon said that Bonnie does not abide by the rules of time, space, or
What the fuck is this? God damn it.
and then William Afton destroyed Bonnie, and before you're like, oh, this is a joke. Joke two. Quick, Austin, joke three. This has been confirmed in the ultimate guide that Bonnie doesn't seem to abide by the laws of physics. So
Oh my
I
God.
destroyed you whenever I felt like it.
Oh
Oh my god, alright, and with that, thank you all for joining us for another Death Battle Cast. That is not a bit. I did not know John was going to do that.
Neither did I. All right.
Thank you all. We will see you all next week, members. We will also have Champion Cast later on. It's good to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Lily, you won already.
Alright, so that was pretty good. I thought that was interesting. Ultimate takeaway. Holy fuck, 41 minutes. Jesus Christ. I didn't even realize how long I was going. 41 fucking minutes. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm not gonna yap on forever because I don't want this to be an hour long, but I'm just gonna try and get all my thoughts here wrapped up real quickly. Overall, one, I apologize if I was coming off as a bit of a dick. I came into this with a bit of a dick mindset because I thought they were trying to pussyfoot around it, and they didn't, like, to an extent. They explain themselves, and it does make sense, or not make sense, I should say. It more explains where they came from, but some of their choices don't make sense. The number one thing that I really don't agree with is that they weren't sure how to calculate Viltrum's destruction and how much who was putting into it, so instead they just gave him the full feat instead of just either not counting it or taking the safe route and divvying up in either fourths or thirds. Me personally, that would have been probably the safer route, is you either don't count it or you low ball 1/4, high ball 1/3. Because I believe around that time in the comics, Omni-Man and Mark were similar strength, if not equals. And Thetis is also relatively close to their strength. I think he's a little bit weaker because he's getting older and older. And one last thing that I brought up in the comments that somebody else brought up and I completely forgot to bring up is splatter factor. And that, if you don't know what that is, that's when somebody is so durable and so strong, you actually hurt yourself hitting them. when Omni-Man in the comics tries to punch Thrag for, I think it's like the first time, he breaks his fucking hand, or like his hand bursts open doing it. And in the Dragon Ball Super manga, I think it's Moro tries to punch UI Goku and he breaks his wrist doing it because UI Goku is just so much stronger than he is. So it's something similar is how I brought up that your power level directly ties to all of your stats with the exception of experience. It ties to your speed, your strength, your durability, and your reaction time, and your destructive output. So when Bardock went Super Saiyan, theoretically, right at the end of the fight when he shattered Bardock's like hand and blew up his arm to kill him, even though that didn't kill him, he fell into the sun and died. That should have probably been the other way around, where Omni-Man broke his wrist fucking punching him. And I think that that's also something that kind of pissed people off, is it really doesn't seem like anything Bardock did to Omni-Man really hurt him, with the exception of him getting kind of bloodied after he got speed blitzed when Bardock went Super Saiyan. That's also another thing, is that like if you're gonna have a character lose, they may at least make it look like it was a close fight, unless it's just an outright stomp like Omni-Man versus Homelander. That's fucking different. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna wrap this up before this turns into an hour-long video. If you decided to watch all 45 minutes of this, one, I apologize for like the first 6 minutes of the actual thing being recorded of like the Death Battle cast, because I didn't realize they weren't talking about Omni-Man till the fucking end. And two, I have to say thank you very much for watching all the way through this. I appreciate it very much. Death Battle, please don't fucking copyright strike me, for fuck's sake. This is fair use, even though I don't agree with React content, but there's no real other way to address this without making this video take weeks to edit, because I don't get a lot of time to do that. But, thank you very much for watching, and that is my cat. Say hi, kitty. Yep, there he is. Hi, buddy. Alright. Take care. See ya. So, I wouldn't normally do this, but I just about to do the fucking easiest editing of my entire life. All I have to do is cut a certain point here and shrink it down, then just put some stuff on screen to be like, hey, please don't copyright me. React content, such good content. But as I'm literally getting ready to edit this, I just recorded this like 5 minutes ago. I look over on my right because I still have it pulled up here because I just never closed it. And I'm at 100 subscribers. Just like that. Can I help you? Are you here celebrating too? My cat. I love my cat, but he is loud. The other one just likes to sleep. But yeah, so thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. 100 subscribers. I never thought I would even see that. I don't really YouTube very often, so it means a lot. So thank you.